And we have guests joining us on the broadcast to get more on this. We have Sanjay Ashar, the senior partner at Crawford, Bailey & Co. joining us. And we also have Sameer Arora, the founder and fund manager at Helios Capital. Thanks very much, gentlemen, for joining us. And Sameer Arora, if I can first come to you, sir. The major takeaways from the Supreme Court appointed panel seem to be, one, that for now it seems that there's no evidence of any stock price manipulation as was alleged by the Hindenburg Group. And on the other side, there's no evidence of any regulatory failure as well. Are those the key takeaways, and what do they mean for this case going ahead, according to you?
Well, when this Hindenburg report had come out and the stock prices had fallen a lot, we had actually taken a bet that the issues are either only related to, at that time, what I thought, that the ownership, whether it is more than 75% owned by the Adani family, and even if you include the brother, and second, that some of the intercompany transactions which happened 10, 15 years ago, mostly before 2015. So we took the bet that if at all they have to be fined for some of these things, there'll be a monetary fine. And so we took the bet that that is the worst that can happen. And so we bought into two Adani Group shares. So in that sense, we are even happier that even those issues have been cleared in some sense. Broadly, I think that now from a market point of view, there is not any issue. So whatever people may evaluate about companies and their potential and valuation, that is how it will be. Maybe not on Monday, but 3-5 days after that, when everybody has been able to get hold of this actual report. I've also only read the summary in the news and not really read the whatever 20-odd page report that is out there.
Right, right. I think the key highlights, as we are pointing out, Mr. Sanjay, one being the point about that prima facie it seems that there was no stock price manipulation, and the other being that there was no regulatory failure as well. That's what the Supreme Court appointed panel seems to say. And when we talk about this report in the context of how this case goes from here on, so will this mean, currently the report said that as of now and yet there's no evidence of stock price manipulation. But what does this mean for this case going ahead, according to you, now that the Supreme Court is going to continue hearing this case, but their form of probing this matter was through appointing this Supreme Court panel who seems to be giving a clean sheet to SEBI?
So therefore,
yes, Mr. Sanjay, please go ahead.
No, I'm only saying that Supreme Court appointed an expert panel. Expert panel has done a deep dive in the matter and has given a clean sheet. And therefore, in my view, Supreme Court will accept the expert panel's report and complete the circle. The issue which is arising is whether it was minimum public shareholding, whether it was price manipulation, whether it was related party transaction, whether it was ultimate beneficial owner or FPI issue. Everywhere the panel has said that there is nothing which is done wrong by Adani. Now, why did this price manipulation, or why did the panic in the market happen? The genesis of that is because of a report of an extraneous agency. There is no substantial monitoring of writing of those reports. So to my mind, in order to avoid in the future any such calamity or any such panic situation or any such swing in the market, there has to be some monitoring of these writing of such reports. Right. Because it is the report which has created the panic. Now we have enough legislation on related party transaction. It has to be approved by the audit committee, it has to be approved by the board, it has to be approved by the auditor, so on and so forth, by the shareholders. So there's no need for further legislation on that. It is the legislation which is required on anybody writing a report, whether that report is fact-based, whether that report is also authenticated by a qualified professional, so that when it comes in the market, the investors read it intelligently as also cleverly and then take a view. Otherwise, these reports will create a panic in the market. Investors will lose money. It is in nobody's interest in order, and what happens is, it's counterproductive to the equity market, counterproductive to the promoter, counterproductive to the economy.
Right. Right. And Mr. Samir, another point that is being highlighted from the report is that it says that there is a need for an effective enforcement policy that is coherent and consistent with the legislative position that's appointed by SEBI, or the Securities and Exchange Board of India. So while the committee report is making these 2 points, giving a clean sheet to SEBI and also saying that there was no evidence of stock manipulation in the Adani group of companies, on the other side, it is also saying that there is a need for an effective enforcement policy looking ahead at the future as well. So such volatilities and such situations don't exist in the future.
But the thing is that you cannot control volatility in the market.
Absolutely.
And I don't think you can control report writing also, because this report, for example, has been written by a US entity. And how do you regulate anybody in the world to say that you can't write a report on an Indian company or any company or any country or any market or anything? So I think these things would be absolutely wrong. And I think this idea that these guys shorted the stock before writing a report, that is entirely their right. And that is how the world works, that you take a view, it is your view, and you are then putting out to the world explaining what you have done. They have been doing it in the US for at least since 2018. And before that and after that, there are so many other short-oriented funds in the world. That is part and parcel of being in the market. So I think beyond a point, volatility cannot be controlled. And in some sense, they put out things which were in public, but they put it together in one report. So that also has, you can't say it was wrong. It is just that it was not illegal, but they think together. So I would think let's not overdo it, because I am from the market. And I think beyond a point, the market volatility cannot be controlled this much that everybody will only make money and not lose money or whatever. That's just part and parcel of this business.
Right. And on that note, if I can come to you, Mr. Sanjay, when we talk about the highlights from this report, and while it talks about stock price manipulation, and when we talked about the Hindenburg report in the past and the allegations that it made in that elaborate report that Hindenburg had come out with, there were several documents that they also cited. But now this expert panel appointed by the Supreme Court, that includes both retired judges, it also includes experts from the industry such as Nandan Nilekani. So all those documents that were cited by the Hindenburg group, but on the other side, the Supreme Court appointed panel is saying that there's no evidence that they found.
True. So therefore, it is the Supreme Court appointed panel's report which has to be accepted. And it clearly shows that the report writer, in that sense, for want of better word, was not, didn't do a deep dive in that sense and created panic in the market. The Supreme Court appointed panel has a huge responsibility. And all of them are industry expert, very, very well-known personality, and absolutely 100 on 100 personalities. And then they have taken time and investigated everything and found out that there's nothing wrong.
Right. Right. And when we talk about
which is why my comment that yes, you can't stop report writing, but at the same time, there has to be a responsible report writing, in the sense that there has to be some mechanism, legal mechanism or a regulatory mechanism, so that such eventualities do not reoccur.
Right. All right. Thanks very much, gentlemen, for joining us and really helping us understand that report that has come out from the Supreme Court appointed panel in the Hindenburg case. So the two major takeaways from that report, as we've pointed out here, that no evidence found of stock price manipulation as of yet, prima facie, and along with that, they also say that there's no regulatory failure on the part of SEBI as well, from what they can see right now.